This is a Nice Guys Patreon exclusive.
Welcome to another Ice Guys team season preview video. 32 teams in 32 days rolls along. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith with you, and we are talking New Jersey Devils on this edition of the show. And we have brought on not only a big New Jersey Devils fan, but really good, popular person, well-known person in the NHL betting space on Twitter, and does great work throughout the course of the season. And first time we've had him on the Ice Guys show in some form. Top Cheddar joining us here for New Jersey Devils preview talk. Ched, good to see you. How are you? Uh-oh. Oh, your mic's
moving. We good now? Good now?
Yeah, there we go.
I just said thank you for having me, guys. I'm in the middle of a move, so I'm still sitting on a folding chair right now. I don't have an office fully set up, but we're here. Yeah. Excited to talk some hockey. We're a little bit more than 3 weeks away. We got some preseason stuff if we really want to be degenerates, but excited to talk hockey, especially my Devils. And I'm actually more curious to see what you guys think about them, because I know what the general consensus is like amongst fans, but I'm curious, like more so like the outside public, what they think.
We'll dive right into it, and it's appropriate that Ched mentioned sitting on a folding chair, because the Devils folded like a chair a little bit last year. It was not a very good season, obviously, for the Devils. Health was a big part of it, obviously. You know, the moment Jack Hughes went down for the season, you know, you could see things turn for the worse for the New Jersey Devils, but still disappointing considering what the expectations were, certainly going into the season. You look at the New Jersey Devils this year, and certainly improvement with better health is certainly expected. You know, all things considered, even with obviously the injuries that mounted late in the season last year, none more bigger than Jack Hughes, you know, still ended up with 91 points, only behind Washington and Carolina in the Metro Division. Unfortunately, you just saw how beaten up they were in that opening round series, and it was just they were ill-equipped to compete at the level they needed to in that opening round series to have success last year. But nevertheless, when you look at the Devils going into this season, we were just talking before we started recording this, 3 players with off-season surgery, Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt, and Luke Hughes. And it'll be interesting to see coming off surgery, you know, which can always be, you know, a little bit dicey, what kind of production, what kind of performance we get from them. But certainly with Jack Hughes, and all these guys are ready to go, it looks like, for training camp, but certainly with all of them back in the fold, you know, it's going to make the New Jersey Devils certainly more dynamic up front. There's a lot of good things I can say about New Jersey up front. A healthy Jack Hughes, a healthy Jesper Bratt, the captain Nico Hischier has put on, you know, muscle in the offseason and really worked to get even bigger, even stronger, which is good to see. We were big fans, of course, of the Stefan Nason prior to last year, getting him on board. This is a guy that, you know, in the regular season, he'll go about his business, but it seems like he's big on the power play. You can put him in front of the net, you know, and really he can cause trouble there and wreak havoc. And also, I find he's a pretty good playoff performer. And then when you look at the bottom 6, you know, I think there was definitely some onus on, you know, trying to give that group a little bit more pop. They didn't always get much offensive production, but, you know, you still got a guy that, you know, at times last year it was a little more inconsistency, but I'm still a big fan of Dawson Mercer and really still think highly of him. We'll see if he can have a more consistent 82-game season. Connor Brown brought in. Big fans, obviously, Alex and I have been, of Connor Brown's game. Unbelievably great skater. Plays both ends of the ice, just a hound on the puck. And that's the thing that's great. You'd love to see the offensive finish and the production match the skating. That's always been the struggle in the past for Connor Brown. But with just what he delivers, certainly at both ends of the ice, and his defensive prowess, you can play him on the penalty kill, and he'll do a nice job for you. You know, very a Swiss Army knife type of player that I think will definitely be a nice addition here for the Devils. You know, we've got Evgeny Dodonov now that could tap in a little offensive push now to the bottom 6 forward group, which is good to see. You know, Paul Cotter was able. Now, he was a streaky guy last year, but he still certainly showed, Paul Cotter, that he could give the bottom 6 a little bit of offense, which was good to see for this group. When you look at the blue line, obviously, you know, Dougie Hamilton is important. Can he be healthy? Brett Pesce, Luke Hughes, now obviously taking another step forward. Obviously, good skater, great shot, can be used on the power play, no question. It's all about, you know, being a bit more physical, being a little bit better defensive posture, if you will, and positioning is going to be the key for Luke Hughes to continue to take that progression. You've got Siegenthaler, you've got the old veteran, you know, stay-at-home, shut-down physical defenseman, and Brendan Dillon. still here with this group. He's not afraid either to drop the gloves either and step up for his teammates. And then there's probably going to be some, I would say, competition for maybe one of the remaining defensive spots on the blue line, because you look, I think Hughes, Pesce, Siegenthaler, Hamilton, Dillon, you're set. But then, of course, you've got Simon Nemec, you've got Dennis Cholowski, you've got Johnny Kovacevic, you've got Seamus Casey. You've got a bunch of players that I think are going to be end up battling for maybe that final spot on the blue line for the New Jersey Devils come the start of the regular season. So that's probably the element of training camp that I'm most interested in from a Devils perspective, is that particular battle for the remaining spot or two on that blue line for Sheldon Keefe this upcoming season. And then, of course, we've got the goaltending tandem as it was last year of Jacob Markstrom and Jake Allen. And remember, Jacob Markstrom had his ups, had his downs last year, and there was times when Jake Allen would step in and play pretty solidly for this team in a backup role for the New Jersey Devils. Did a great job on television, too. I've got to throw that out there. He was a guest on Hockey Night in Canada during the playoffs. Did a really nice job. And then, of course, you've got Nico Dawes, Georgi Romanov, and Adam Shield to round out the depth as far as the goaltending is concerned. Like, I think it's reasonable that if the team stays healthy, they're improved. They're a better team. They're certainly a playoff team. I think health's going to be a question. I think getting something from the bottom six is going to be a question. We saw, unfortunately, that when Jack Hughes went out, it was a completely different team. He means as much to this team as any one player can mean to any team really in this league. That's how good he is. So that's going to be important. I think the one thing, too, is the blue line. Getting Dougie Hamilton full season out of him is going to be key. How does I think Luke Hughes is one of my biggest components to taking the Devils to the next level. We already know the offensive instincts and abilities, but if he can take that next level in his own, next step in his own end, improve defensively in the D zone, maybe be a little bit more physical, put a little more, clear the front of the net, better job. He got pushed around at times in front of the net. So that's going to be something I'm watching for. Take that next step defensively. And obviously you've got a capable duo in Markstrom and Allen, certainly in net. I always say this about Markstrom. He can look like, Marty Brodeur one night, and then he'll have, unfortunately, the odd night too, where he's given up 5 goals on 22 shots. And you're like, what the fuck? What's going on here? So from that standpoint, just a little more consistency you want out of Markstrom. But no, I like I think the Devils will be improved. I'm not running to bet their point total over this season, quite honestly, or get to the futures for Stanley Cup or anything. But definitely do think the New Jersey Devils, assuming health, will be obviously an improved hockey team. And I really do like the bottom six. I think they've really done a lot of things to improve that group. Connor Brown, Evgeny Dodonov, they should have more punch there for sure in the third and the fourth line. Alex, your thoughts on the New Jersey Devils?
When you compare this Devils team, to say their Hudson River counterparts and the Rangers, it's a different kind of look. Where with the Rangers preview, I talked about how this is a team that I don't really have much to say, but it's in a kind of negative correlation. Where here, I don't have a whole lot to say about this team, but it's in a positive way. I don't see like there's going, where this is a team has made incredible leaps and bounds to where they're going to be a Stanley Cup contender. I don't certainly believe that they've fallen off to a point where they're going to be a lottery team. They're kind of hovering right in the middle, but they're a fun team. They're a fun bunch. There's a lot of guys, like you said, that we like on this roster. Stefan Nason, Connor Brown, those middle line guys who give you gritty goals, and they show up in key clutch moments. And sometimes that blend doesn't work as well with other teams. Like I said, the Rangers are a team of second and third liners where you'd love to see them be on your team. You'd love to see them plugged and played elsewhere, but combined, they just don't look that good. With this group, with the Devils, this forward group, they stay healthy. They look like a fun bunch that can score some goals, but also be responsible defensively. Still play a level of Devils hockey. It doesn't have to look like 1995 necessarily, but they can be competitive at both ends of the ice. The goaltending, I know more people are comfortable with this duo than I am. Jake Allen, yes, he had a tremendous season last year. Probably one of his best years since he was wearing a Blues uniform back in the day. But in saying that, this is a guy that I've watched play a lot of hockey. He has played a lot of hockey. When you have 2 aging veteran goalies, you just wonder about the miles on the body. You wonder if the groins are going to stay healthy. those nagging issues, and we've seen Markstrom have those issues. We've seen Allen have some injury issues earlier on, kind of in the middle part of his career. So that's a huge key. And I don't trust in Georgie. We saw him in San Jose. I don't trust in Nico Dawes, the limited action I've seen with him in the NHL. I don't think he's going to be a future number one guy in the NHL, maybe a backup at best. So, like a lot of teams, right? If goaltending becomes an issue, you seem to be screwed. But like I said, they're right in that logjam of the Metro where they play their style of hockey, they stay healthy, they should be a playoff team. Now, what they do past that, I don't really know. And even just looking at their futures, looking at the numbers, nothing jumps out at me except for one thing. And we talk about this every season preview, preseason year. We see the books get more creative with the options they offer in betting. And I got to give credit to DraftKings for having this. And there's a couple other books I've seen this too, but you can bet on how many points a team will have in the month of October. I thought this is fantastic in the overall in this situation. So you can kind of, identify and look at spots within the scheduling and see if there's any value. And I think there's some value on the under 12.5 points at even money with New Jersey. Scheduled makers did not do them any favors whatsoever. You look at their first 6 games at Carolina, at Tampa Bay, at Columbus. So you got 3 home openers. And we talk about this, and you'll hear us talk about it more during that first week of the season. The home openers, you have the 30-minute ceremony. Everybody's skating on ice, especially if you got a team that won something. So they're putting the banner up as well. Those can get a little long in the tooth in any given game and disrupt your momentum, disrupt your timing. So you got 3 of those against 3 very good opponents in Carolina, Tampa Bay, and Columbus. Then you go back home for your own home opener against, the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. Then you take on the 2-time Western Conference champion Edmonton Oilers, go back on the road and play the Toronto Maple Leafs. So this is a very tough stretch of hockey that they start off with. And when we talk about all the key guys who are coming off of surgeries, coming off of injuries, it could be a bit of a feeling out process early. So I'll go under 12.5 points at even money at DraftKings. The New Jersey Devils, their points for the month of October.
That's not a bad look when you consider the way you laid it out with the tough schedule. And it's not just the 3 road games against those teams you mentioned, Tampa, Columbus. Who was the other one, Alex? Tampa, Columbus, and the other one there, the 3?
Carolina.
It's not just that it's those 3 teams. Columbus is the weakest one, and even we think they're decent at the very least. It's that you catch them all on their home opener. Everyone's jazzed up to open the season on home ice, your first home game.
The division teams.
For those teams. Yeah. Yep, that's tough. And you mentioned the other Florida, Edmonton, Toronto. Holy shit. That's Florida and Edmonton, Stanley Cup finalists. And that's Toronto, who no team pushed Florida more in the Stanley Cup playoffs than Toronto last year. So, like I said, that is a difficult salvo to begin the season for the New Jersey Devils. So that under 12.5 points, that's not a bad way to go. It makes a lot of sense conceptually. Chad, you're a big Devils fan. I know you go to a bunch of the games there at the Rock, the Prudential Center during the season. What's your outlook for your team?
So a couple things I wanted to clarify. And on the injury front, Jack is the one that people are most worried about, at least from what we've been told. Luke and Jesper's shoulder surgeries were just like minor. They could have played through it. It was kind of like one of those, like they just decided the summer's the right time to do it. It wasn't anything that was like serious. You mentioned the blue line. I think it's unfair to lump Johnny Kovacevic in a guy who's fighting for a spot. I think he 100% has a spot on the team. They gave him a 4-year deal, a 6-year deal, $4 million deal last year. They love him. The only issue being is the team hasn't told us exactly.
Sheldon didn't love him that one night, though.
That one night, you're right. But then I think that was more on the entire team, and he just kind of had a guy. Regardless, he got injured in the Carolina series. The team won't tell us what it is. At least from what I've been told, it's an ACL tear where he's most likely not going to be here to the new year. So that'll open up a spot for Nemitz or some young kid. Again, I don't know that for sure. If it is an ACL tear, I'm saying it won't be till 2026 that we'll see him. So regardless, that's there. The only other thing you didn't mention, they have a couple prospects who are probably going to be in the lineup. So the big one for most Devils fans that are excited about is Arseny Gritsyuk. I don't know if he's Russian or Belarusian, but regardless, KHL kid, he's 24 years old. A guy who Devils fans wanted to come over a little earlier. He had contractual obligations in the KHL. He's been a point per game player since he was like 22 in the KHL. A big reason why I think they
not bad for 5th round draft pick. I'm just seeing that. Yeah, 5th round he was taken.
He's very talented, very offensive minded. playmaker, really good at basically everything. And him and I think it was him and Demidov on the SKA team like worked really, really well together. Regardless, I think him coming over is a big reason why they signed Evgeny Dodonov. There was no Russian speakers on the team. I think they signed, like, on top of helping our depth, I think they wanted a guy just to like mentor him, right? A guy who's been in the NHL for years.
Sounding board for those young Russians. Yeah.
I think it'll be a really good spot for him. Again, I don't know this, but I bet you they'll play together, you know, as a third line role, kind of get them up to speed nice and easy. Don't stick them right up in the top six. Let him play with someone that he knows and speak the same language, etc. We have a couple other prospects, but I think Gritzyk's probably the only one that'll make it. The big thing you mentioned that everyone on the team said last year, the bottom six was horrendous. I think in the Carolina series, and then this is after Jack Hughes is out, when the Nico Hischier, Timo Meier, Jesper Bratt line was on the ice 5-on-5, we outscored them. Like, they had like a +4 goal differential. That top line held their own they were great. They're fantastic. Even the second line, which I don't, at the time we traded him now, Eric Holla, it was Eric Holla, Andre Palat, Dawson Mercer. They held their own. They're about an even. They weren't terrible. They weren't good, but they held their own. If that was your team's third line, you'd probably be perfectly happy with it. Due to injuries, they kind of had to overplay their spot. Everyone else, it was just horrible, right? We had guys like, again, no disrespect, Nate Bastian was horrible last year. Who's the guy that went to the Rangers? Justin Dowling, career AHLer, had to play because of injuries. Guys like that, I'm very, very happy we went out and got. And Evgeny Dodonov, Connor Brown, Cody Glass comes back, which I think is nice. Yep. The biggest hole in the team for me is the 3C. For now, we're starting most likely with Cody Glass there. That's fine. I would expect come deadline time, that'll be the spot that they're looking to grab. I know you guys mentioned him. I'm not a huge Dawson Mercer guy. He had a really good 1 year where he meshed well with Nico Hischier, and since then we just haven't seen it. A big problem is we don't know what his best position is. We've tried him at center. Doesn't look great. Yeah. He's better up at right wing, I think, personally. But due to the way the team is, maybe they'll have him at the 3C and bump Glass down. I think that's better for depth, but at the same time, I just don't love him as a center personally.
Yeah, they got a winger overload going on there. Yeah.
Yeah. So look, 1-2, no problems. I think Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, 1-2 down the middle. Like, not many teams can have that type of like center 1-2 core. I think Cody Glass, if he's down as your 4C, you're perfectly fine. I think he's perfect for a fourth line role. Then it's all right. I think that 3C is the big one for the Devils and what they're going to figure out. I think we'll start the year with Cody Glass as the 3C. We brought in Luke Clendenning from the Lightning on a PTO. I expect him to make the team purely because of faceoffs. Our team's pretty bad at faceoffs, and he was really, really good last year. Again, beefing up depth, I think, is huge for us. And then you mentioned on the back end, when Kovacevic does return, we have too many guys. Seamus Casey's more than good enough to play in the NHL at this point. Simone Nemitz, there's been some rumors of him being unhappy because he just hasn't gotten consistent playing time at this point.
I've heard that too. Like, they might be on the outs. Yeah.
I think most likely, again, if you're going to go into all the rumors and if you see everything going on, I think it's much more likely that Dougie Hamilton would be traded over Simone Nemitz. If you lead to believe the whole Quinn Hughes rumor talk, just because of salary purposes, right? You have Simone on an ELC, you'd rather keep him on that end. But at the same time, for now, you knock it down the line. He'll play while Kovacevic is hurt. And then we're just kind of go from there. I feel a little bit more bad for Seamus Casey. I thought Casey looked really good in a short stint last year. But he'll probably start off as their seventh defenseman, and he'll kind of pop in. A little undersized, which is the only worry there. When you get to goalie, I have no complaints at the goalie. 3 years ago, our goaltending was so bad that what we have now, like, it's a godsend. Jacob Marks and Jake Allen, I think both of them are plus in goal saved above expected last year. Jake Allen was one of the best in hockey, and I agree with what Alex said. I don't think he's ever going to recreate the season he had last year. But I think as your backup, I'm more than happy with him as a backup. If he was your team starter, I'd be a little worried. As a backup, I'm more than happy, and he took a really team-friendly deal to sign with us. So that was really appreciated. And then Markstrom, he was good last year. Right? You're definitely right. He has mistakes in him. He's not perfect. But in that playoff series against Carolina, it wasn't his fault. Game 5, I mean, I think he made like 60 saves when we lost in double overtime. Like, he was fantastic, even though he gave up 4 goals. So I'm perfectly fine with Markstrom. The long-term goal is the kid we have in BU, Mikhail Yegorov, who's looked absolutely insane in the NCAA. I doubt he's going to be ready next year when Markstrom contract expires, so I'm curious what we do. But that's kind of the long-term play. We kind of have that sorted out. My big question mark's up front. I think the offense could use a 3C. I would like another scorer, to be quite honest with you, in the top 6, but that's more of like a nice to have. I don't think it needs.
I don't think you're going to get the Andre Palat of 8, 9, 10 years ago. I mean, I think it's
No.
he is what he is at this point. So that would have helped if you get a turn back the clock season out of him, but I don't think you're going to get
There's some. I mean, I'm not really bothered. Like he at this point, his contract's pretty bad. I don't think anyone's going to trade for him. He's got a 10-team trade list, but if a player and agent play that right, you could basically make those 10 teams that can't afford you, and it basically becomes a full new move clause. So I expect him to play out the rest of the year. If he had no trade protection, I could see him just go to like a San Jose, tack on a pick with them or something like that. But he's a good leader. He's an alternate on the team. I'm sure he's good for the locker room and stuff like that. I personally don't like the guy. I think he's farly overpaid for what it is. But with the cap going up, we don't really have any cap issues at this point. We can kind of afford everyone. I guess the only other thing left for the team is Luke Hughes is still unsigned. Camp starts in 3 days. He's a restricted free agent. I think an article came out today from Ryan Novozinski basically saying like everything's going really well. Like they expect to get done before camp. So it's not a huge deal. Now it's just what are the numbers going to look like? Are they going to sign him to a short-term deal, bridge it, save a little bit of money on cap this year? Or are they just going to say, screw it, cap's going up, let's lock him in for 8 years right now? Kind of like what they did with Jack is you might not have shown the potential yet shown the skill yet to be a $8, $9, $10 million player, but we'll pay it now.
It's also what Ottawa did with Jeff Sanderson. You know, they locked him in. Jake Sanderson. I'm thinking of his dad. That's how old I am.
Tom Fitzgerald's been a big fan of it. He's always been a type of guy who's like to pay his players before they break out. It looks really good right now, right? Like we have Jack Hughes for 5 or 6 more years at $8 million. With the cap going up, like that's just an insane deal at this point. I expect them to get a long-term deal done with Luke and kind of do the same thing. Overpay a little bit for the first 2 years, but if he continues to grow and take another step like he did last year, then it'll be a steal of a deal. So I think that's the goal there. All in all, I feel Alex's October bet, it makes a lot of sense in theory, but I feel like October hockey, like the best teams they just don't win every game. Like you see a lot of weird stuff happen. The Devils started really well last year in October, but it's tough with matchups. I understand. Like I get the thought process behind it.
What about the thought process of these guys that had all the surgeries done? It just takes them a few games to get into rhythm, get in the flow. Could that be an issue?
Not really. I mean, Luke missed 2 games at the end of the year because he got hurt against Carolina, but Jesper didn't really miss any games. I think he's going to be completely fine. I'm not overly worried about the injuries for any one of them. Like they're still going to get a full camp. They're going to get a full preseason. They're going to play and kind of get that rust out of the way. So I'm not overly worried about the kind of like rust from the injuries there. At this point, I guess the only one you'd say is like Jack's now had back-to-back years of that shoulder surgery, right? Like unfortunate plays on both of them. Like he got tripped into the boards on both, but if it keeps happening, you got to say like, okay, well, there's something wrong here. And the bigger problem is like you talked about Nico Hischier, and he had a full summer. He gained like 20 pounds of like muscle mass because that's a big thing that this team needs. They're a little bit undersized. As much as we would love Jack to put on muscle mass, he has to rehab a shoulder surgery every summer. He can't work out in a gym when you're rehabbing in a sling. So that's one of the things where like very happy Nico kind of took that big step. And I already love him. Might be a hot take among
excellent point.
fans.
Like that stunted Jack's put on pounds, put on muscle, like get bigger and stronger with the surgery, having to recover from that
over the summer. And it's been back-to-back summers now where he's had that. Yeah. So unfortunate on that end. What I was going to say is it might be a hot take for most Devils fans, but if you had to make me pick between Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier, I would take Nico Hischier every day. Jack's clearly a more talented player, but if I had to pick one to like build my team around, I absolutely adore Nico Hischier. I think he's criminally underrated even at this point at the NHL. I truly believe he's the most important player on this team.
I'm glad you mentioned that because that's as close as I would go with season-long player props for New Jersey is Nico. Now, I know Nico's great defensively in face-offs, and he's 2 ways of the ice, and that's why we respect the hell out of him as a player. But I think his offensive instincts might kick in a little bit more this year, in my opinion. So He'd be someone that if you can find anything as far as the season-long props are concerned in the points category, Nico Hischier is someone I'd be interested in for sure.
He took a huge step last year on goals. He
Yeah.
definitely had a career high last year in goals. Yeah, he went up to 35 goals and nearly a point per game player. He's been a point per game player now for 3 years straight, though. Like, again, with everything he brings, if he gives me 80 points a year with his two-way play, his face-offs, penalty kills, everything, like, that's all you need. Now you need Jack to stay healthy. He'll be the big offensive play driver. And it's unfair to call Nico a 2C. But, yeah, I absolutely love him. I think he's like the heart of the team. He got named captain super early, but he's been awesome at this point. So I really, really like him. Yeah, that's really all I got.
All right, great stuff. There we go. There's the New Jersey Devils. I have nothing more to add. Alex, go
And it's
ahead.
funny too. I was just gonna say, we mentioned about Nico Hischier. It's funny just looking at MVP odds. I'm seeing Jesper Bratt. I see Timo Meyer, Jack Hughes. I don't see his name listed, and he's maybe a guy that his name could pop up if he can jump out to a hot start and really help this team out. We might see his name pop up in that list, and there may be some value worth grabbing if he can have an even better year than what he had last year.
I don't think he's a sexy enough player. Like he plays a really like kind of similar to like Alexander Barkov, not as good as Barkov, but like does a lot of little things right. He'll show up, like he does all the defensive side of things. I just don't think for like a voter stuff, I wish he would, but I don't think he'll ever have like 110-point season or whatever's needed to be in an MVP conversation. If you're going to take anyone, it'd be Jack.
If he's a 35, 60, he had 69 points, 35 goals last year. So if he can be a 35, 70 guy and make that leap to a 40, 80, a 40, 90 guy kind of guy, then he could pop up in that conversation at least.
Yeah,
not necessarily he's going to win it, but I'm just saying he could be in the conversation and his name gets thrown around more in the vein that you're talking about, saying that he's a very important player to the team and maybe one of these kind of underrated stars in the league.
Yeah, if look on the Devil side, if anyone's going to do it, it'll be Jack. It's just, he puts up the points. He's been at like a 1.3 point per game pace. If he can still stay healthy, he's the guy who he's got the potential. He's got everything needed. He's got the skill to potentially put up, if all goes well, that 120, 130 point season, which and now is becoming a norm to win that Hart Trophy because you have McDavid going insane. Kucherov puts up 1 million points, or Draisaitl, whatever. Actually, a longer shot. I really like Pasternak this year. I know a lot of people don't like that Bruins team, but I could see him bounce back purely off him alone. But yeah,
you have to carry them on his back. There's not much denying that.
But I adore the player. I absolutely love David Pasternak.
Yeah.
I guess
I don't know if he adores the Bruins, but yes, we adore the way he plays. There's
the only other future I think you can go is if you wanted to take the Calder with Arseny Griciuk. He's plus 5,000 on FanDuel. I don't know what he is on DraftKings. I mean, it's definitely a long shot. There's a spot in the top 6 for him if he like really, really plays well, and he's shown a lot of ability in the KHL. Doesn't always translate. For all the Artemi Panarins, as Devils fans can tell you, we also have the Nikita Gusevs who come over and just don't do much. So
yeah, that didn't go well.
It's more of a risk reward, but at plus 5,000, like he's gonna have a spot on the team. He's probably most likely going to start like third line with second line power play duties, kind of go from there, but he's ultra talented if you want to take any guy. I agree with your guys' consensus of like, I don't trust the team points. I think the Devils make the playoffs. I think the bare minimum for the team this year is win a playoff round. I think most fans would be happy if they won a playoff round, assuming the roster we have now. That conversation could change. Let's say the team's doing really well and they go all in and trade all their futures.
I might do first round conference semifinals, stage of elimination split bet at FanDuel. One of them cashes its profit if you put the same amount of money on both bets.
On both?
Yeah.
First
plus
round
180
semifinals. Yeah.
Plus 185 for first round and plus 360 for conference semifinals. That sounds about right.
I think that's a pretty good bet. The Metro, for all that it is, I don't think the Metro is super competitive enough for them to miss the playoffs, even if everything goes
well.
I've
got them as a playoff team.
I think Carolina's your kind of number one. I think most people agree with Carolina will be there. I think Washington will regress a little bit, but I still expect them to be a playoff team. I think New Jersey will be in, and then that last spot will be between Columbus and New York. As much as I hate them, if you put a gun to my head, I'd probably say the Rangers will make it this year. I really like Mike Sullivan as a coach, and the addition of Vladislav Gavrikov, but you could also
we mentioned
see
this
that
on the Rangers preview.
Atlantic
Mike
team.
Sullivan's success first year as a head coach, Boston and
Right.
Pittsburgh. That first year he coached both of those teams. I mean, immediate success. Yeah,
He's a great coach. I think too many people are giving him too much hate for a very, very, very bad Penguins team that he's coaching there. I think he's going to improve that team. And I guess it'll come down to, well, one, are they going to be good enough to take that last spot from the Atlantic? Because last year, I believe the Atlantic had 5 teams and the Metro only had 3 go out. But yeah, I feel relatively safe about a playoff spot. Then it's about matchups.
Who you play will determine it.
Yeah. I think the Devils are good enough to beat Carolina. I don't think Carolina's they don't scare me from a playoff perspective. But at the same time, we got to stay healthy.
Carolina's awesome up front. Carolina's great on the blue line, but that goaltending's still a house of cards for them. And
I think
even Kochetkov, I've soured a little bit. I didn't love what I saw. He had a chance to firmly rip away the number 1 spot, and he fumbled with it.
I also just don't think
football
their
at the 1 yard line
is very good. They don't have a second line center. They haven't had a second line center. Just Jesperi Kotkaniemi has just never kind of taken that.
That's
reins.
a problem too.
Gordon Stahl last year had a big drop off from the year before. They're kind of dropping off there. They tried last year with Jack Roslovic, didn't do it. I thought, they had the big rumors of getting Elias Pettersson and trying to get a big name second line center. They just haven't done it yet. To where right now, Daily Faceoff has Seth Jarvis moving to a center role. I don't see him as a natural center. I know he's good defensively, but I just think that's a square peg in a round hole, as opposed to just going out and signing or acquiring a second line center. So that's the big one for me with Carolina. I understand their goaltending. I think their goaltending is good enough with their decor, but I'm a big Alexander Nikishin fan. Nikishin, I don't know how to pronounce it. I think he's going to put up huge numbers this year, especially on that team. I think they're going to be a really good regular season team. We'll see how they do in the playoffs.
Yeah, and we talked about the Metro's always a logjam, and that was kind of the reason I was looking at, like I said, with that over or the over under and the points. Looking at that under, you'll be able to get, in my opinion, some better options and better prices to bet on. Devils making the playoffs. If the stage of elimination bets are year round, those numbers will certainly boost and increase as well. If then that's something that I'll be looking at. There's a lot of teams where I have.
Oh, did I lose him?
I think we did lose Alex, but it's a good time to run the ad, which we will do. Our new smoke sponsor, our friends at Royal Cannabis.
Royal Cannabis, where the kings and queens shop.
Check it out, 20% off using the promo code IceGuys, royalcannabisshop.com. Great stuff with the New Jersey Devils preview. We appreciate Ched for helping us out with this. Alex, your connection cut off, so just finish the point you were making.
Oh, okay, yeah, I got lost in it, and then we just went back on. But I was just kind of saying about how just looking at there would be opportunities to bet on the Devils later on once you get out of the month of October, and that was kind of what was fueling my point of betting that under 12.5 points.
Tough schedule. I agree.
Yeah,
especially if those teams play up to their potential. The ones the New Jersey Devils.
So I wouldn't bet on the Devils to make the playoffs now at a minus price. I might be able to wait until the end of October and get a plus 150, 160 if they struggle in that stretch for them to get to the playoffs. That's what I was kind of
Yeah, if your slow start comes to fruition. Great stuff. You do a lot of content, Ched, so here's an opportunity. Tell us what you got coming up this season.
Appreciate it. Really, for now, definite on the content on X. I'm definitely going to have streams both kind of multicasted on X and Twitch. I want to get into the short form content. It's just not something I have done just yet. I know that's kind of king right now in terms of viewership numbers and all that, and that's been popping really well. So I expect at some point I'll have TikTok short form content as well, but mainly for now as a guarantee over on X and streams on Twitch and stuff like that.
Good stuff. Great stuff. I hope you enjoyed it. For Alex B. Smith, Top Cheddar, I'm Ian Cameron. This has been your New Jersey Devils season preview as 32 teams in 32 days rolls along, courtesy of the Ice Guys.